Hi guys, my name's Ariana and I want to welcome you to the first official episode of Ghetto Girl Gospel. So crazy to say that out loud because it's been a journey. Um, the devil is a liar. He tries to work and make you believe that no one wants to hear what you have to say or no one wants to hear your story. But I know that God placed this podcast on my heart for a reason. And I'm just so grateful to be able to help women and young girls like me. And I just hope that this podcast brings you closer to God and closer to your healing. And just know that this is a safe space and you can be vulnerable, you can cry. Um, and yeah, I just want to thank you all for tuning in and for listening. And I'm so excited to share this journey with you guys. Um, First episode is going to be my testimony and how I was brought to God, and everything that He freed me from. Um, it's just been a long, long, long journey to get here, and I just can't even believe that I'm here to share my story and just to help people and just connect others with God the way that I have connected with God. And I just hope that you receive Him while you're here. I hope that this changes your life and your perspective on everything around you, because I know me giving my life to God has changed my life drastically. He's freed me from alcoholism, depression, crippling anxiety, self-harm. The list goes on. I could go on and on of everything that He's freed me from, but I'm just so grateful. And I just hope you're as excited as I am, because I'm very nervous, but I know that God put this on my heart for a reason and it's going to be good. And I'm excited. So without further ado, let's start with my testimony. I'm going to open up with the verse first. A verse that really stuck out to me recently. I'm new to studying my Bible. I gave my life to God October 2023, but I did not get saved until Easter Sunday, which was a very crazy experience. But yeah, that'll be in the testimony as well. The verse I'm going to read is from the book of John. It is verse 12 to 18, and it is the dispute over Jesus's testimony. Little background: when I was reading this, I didn't read the whole verse through. I was just, understanding, like, I don't need anybody else to validate my testimony, or I don't need witnesses to my testimony, because I know who walks beside me. And once I got to the end of the verse, I realized, okay, like God's working. He's showing me things every day, not even just when I study my Bible, just everything, every little thing throughout the day. Like, He's showing me that He's here and this is what I'm called to do and what I'm meant to do. And this was His plan for me this entire time. And I just can't fathom the love that He has for not only me, but for my family and everyone that's around me. And I'm just so excited to share this with you guys. So let me not get distracted. So the verse, again, it's from the book of John. It's verse 12 to 18, and it is a dispute over Jesus's testimony. So when Jesus spoke again to the people, He said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." The Pharisees challenged Him. "Here you are, appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is not valid." Jesus answered, "Even if I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is valid, for I know where I came from and where I am going. But you have no idea where I come from or where I am going. You judge by human standards. I pass judgment on no one. But if I do judge, my decisions are true because I am not alone. I stand with the Father who sent me. In your own law, it is written that the testimony of two witnesses is true. I am one who testifies for myself. My other witness is the Father who sent me." So if you think about that, you you don't have to you don't have to always have people testify for you. Like I was the type of person that I felt like I needed validation from the people around me, but the more I walk with God, the more I realize I don't need any validation except for God. And I know that I have that, and I know that my story matters, and I know that there's other women like me and young girls like me that are scared and don't feel like they're worthy enough to walk with God or worthy enough to be loved by God. And me, I was a sinner for most of my life, and nobody's perfect. I still have things that I battle that I'm still going through to this day, and sometimes it's hard, but I know who walks beside me, and I know who is here and watching over me at all times, and I know that he loves me no matter what. Um so yeah, that's just a very good verse, and I just thought I'd share that with you guys. Again, it's from the book of John, chapter 8, verses 12 to 18. Yeah, so that's a good one. So we're just gonna start from the beginning. Um, I feel like at a really, really young age, I understood pain, anger. Um, I feel like I was exposed to a lot at a really young age, and that I had to grow up really fast. Um, Growing up, I saw physical abuse, but a lot of verbal abuse. Not even just like from my parents, but the people around us at the time, because we were living in a house with a bunch of people, a bunch of family. Um, so yeah, there was just a lot of chaos constantly. Um, and my mom, worked really, really hard to get us out of that environment. Moved us to a completely different side of town. Which was a struggle for me because, again, I'm the oldest of six. There's six of us total, and I'm the oldest. Um, I already knew things, I understood what my family was about. I understood the things that my dad was doing. I understood everything that was going on around me. Again, I feel like I had to grow up really, really fast. We moved, um, I think when I was about 6 or 7, we moved. And I feel like that took a little bit of a toll on me. I was in elementary school, and I just always remember being asked where my dad was and why wasn't my dad around. And that was hard to explain as a kid and to even understand, because you don't know why he's not there. You don't know. Um, my mom did a lot for us. My mom had me really, really young. She was 17 when she had me. Um, my mom was 23 with 3 kids. I could not imagine that. At 23, the things I was doing, I could not imagine having 3 kids. Um, so I do respect her for that, because I'm sure that was hard. She had me when she was 17. Like I said, she was a baby, having a baby, taking care of a baby, and I feel like she also had to grow up really fast, and I'm sure she went through a lot. I don't want to speak for my mom, but I know that she went through a lot of things, and a lot of things that she doesn't talk to me about, or hasn't, things that she's pushed away and pushed to the side. And I just, I have so much love and respect for her, especially now that I'm older and now that I'm a mom, and now that I realize, I put her through a lot of stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I also understood anger at a really young age. I just feel like I was an angry kid that turned to an angry teenager, and then that turned into an angry adult. And my grandma instilled prayer in us at a really young age. I always remember my grandma praying with us, and um, always letting us know, like, if you feel a certain way, like, pray. So I feel like I prayed a lot, but I never really understood what I was praying for or who I was praying to. I felt like it was just always when I needed something, I was praying. So, yeah. we went to my grandma's every summer, which I felt like was my safe space because, being really young and just feeling alone and, like you're not loved. I feel like I felt that a lot as a kid. Um and I'm not like bashing my parents because I know that they did what they could, but I don't know, I just felt very alone most of my life, and that I really didn't have anybody to talk to or turn to, and whether that was just me like distancing myself from certain things or just not understanding that my parents had their own struggles too. Um and two, like I'm learning now that I'm older and like now that I'm a mom, sometimes the way our parents treat us is a reflection of how their parents treated them. It's generational, and you have to break the cycles. And I feel like now, like my mom and I, we are very, very close. My dad and I, oh, I prayed for years for the relationship that we have now. And, I just remember always being angry at him growing up as a kid and not understanding like why wasn't he there? Why didn't he care? Why didn't he love us? And again, the enemy loves to feed you lies, and I constantly heard that in my head. Nobody loves you, nobody cares, nobody's gonna listen. I always had that in my mind that nobody loved me. And I feel like again that just made me I was an angry kid to an angry teenager to an angry adult. And we stopped going to my grandma's. I stopped going to my grandma's like right when I reached my teens, and even now I wish I never stopped going cuz it really was like my escape from everything. And I love my grandma. Me and my grandma are very, very close. We've always been very, very close. And I honestly feel like her prayers have protected me my whole life. I feel like she saved me from a lot of things, and just by praying for me, I feel like she saved me from a lot of things. And because she lives all the way in Los Angeles, so it was hard. Like we went every summer, and that was like the only time we would see her. Um, so yeah, I really, really believe that my grandma's prayers protected me throughout my whole life. And I'm just grateful for that. Uh, Fast forward to me becoming a teenager. um, just an angry kid, mad at the world, not understanding why I had the life that I did, why my dad wasn't there, why my parents weren't together. I love my stepdad. Don't get me wrong, my stepdad. If I did not have him, I definitely would not have grown to be who I am because he's loved us from the very beginning. And for a man to take on 3 kids that are not his, it's hard. It's rare to find someone like that, and especially someone that's going to stick around for as long as he has. They've been together since I was 9 years old. I'm 29 now, so they've been together for 20 years. And I just love him. He's the best dad that I could ask for, and he's been there through everything for me. I know I drove him absolutely crazy as a kid, as a teenager, and it's to both of them, to my mom and to my stepdad. I'm sorry because I know I was not easy to deal with, and I look back and I'm just sorry. Really sorry. Also too, I just want my family to know that you are going to hear things I have never shared with anybody. I have never shared with you guys. I'm not looking for sympathy. I don't want you guys to feel bad. I just want you to understand that I had my own issues that I needed to fix and work through, and it's not anybody's fault at the end of the day. God has always had a plan for my life, and I realize that now everything that I went through was to bring me to this point here. And I'm just grateful for it all, for everything, all the sadness, all the heartache, everything I went through. I'm so grateful for it, because if it was not for that, I would not be here, and I would not be able to tell my story and just be the voice for the kids that feel this way, kids that feel like they weren't loved, and kids that feel like everybody was against them and they felt like they had to be against the world and fight back and always be aggressive. And, it all of that was for a reason. So at the age of 14 was the first time I ever tried to end my life. I've never said it out loud. I just thank God for not allowing it to happen, because I know it was him, and I know that there's a reason why I'm still here. And after that time that I tried, I it kind of just left my mind after that. I don't know. I don't understand how. But obviously I do know that it was God that helped me and pulled me out of that place. Later down the line, like my adult years, there was a few times I tried again. But just looking at my little sister now, and I couldn't imagine, like, I just wish I could hug my little self, and tell her, like, you are loved. Like, you have a family that loves you. You have siblings that love you. Like, this is not the way to do it. And I'm just so glad that God saved me and didn't allow it to happen. 13, 14 is also around the time I started drinking. I have battled with alcoholism for pretty much my whole life. When I was younger, it wasn't as bad, up until I reached like 14, 15. I used to sneak it. I knew where my mom's liquor cabinet was as a kid. In high school, me and my friends, we used to drink it and put water to replace it. Like, I don't know what I was thinking as a kid. Yeah. And I battled with that for a really, really long time. My mom, again, was a single mom. I kind of took advantage of that, and I just wilded out. I was wilding out. I was outside. I was doing things that kids my age at that time should not have been doing. I was, I was very, very angry. I was angry at the world, and I just felt like that was my only escape. That was also when I did start smoking marijuana. Also, when I really was like, again, I understood who my family was at a young age. I understood gangs. I understood street life. I understood a lot at a really young age. My first robbery I ever did, which my parents don't know this either. So again, you guys are going to hear things that you've never heard. My first robbery I ever committed, I was 15 years old. And I did them frequently up until I was about 19. It's so crazy to say it out loud, because these are things I have kept to myself for years. And it's crazy to think about the lost little girl that I was at that time, and thinking that was okay. Like, thinking about it now, like, you ruined someone's security, someone's thought of safety, and like, you made them scared for the rest of their life. Like, and that's something I do still battle with, and something the devil does try to bring back into my head a lot. Like, you ruin people's lives. You're never going to be forgiven. God is never going to love you. God is never going to care about you. But it's a lie. And I can acknowledge what I did, and I know what I did was wrong. And it's just something that has weighed on me all these years, and sometimes you just don't realize what you're doing when you are in that environment. You're in that street life. You feel like this is the only way to live and survive. I was stealing at a really young, I think I started stealing when I was like 12. I stole a lot of stuff as a kid growing up, and just, yeah, I did a lot of crazy things as a kid. Fighting, cussing people out, a lot of things. Like I said, I grew up really fast, and I was just angry at the world, and I thought that that was the only way I could live, how it was the only way that I could be okay. But I was lost. I was so incredibly lost. And the people that I was around obviously were lost as well. And, you know, I I'm I'm grateful that I'm grateful to see the people that I did these things with, their lives are also changing. I had three best friends growing up, Diamond, Keon, and Eddie. Those were my brothers. We did everything together, including the bad stuff. But, you know, I feel like we just took advantage of the fact that our moms were single moms and we could get away with things. This was before cameras in front of the house, technology, like it was before all of that. And we really just, I feel like, fed off of each other's loneliness, and we just, we ran amok together. And, I'm grateful for that part of my life because it makes me realize, that that's not the life you needed to live. And again, I feel like God protected me from a lot of situations. And again, too, I feel like my grandma's prayers protected me from a lot of situations. Like, I'm 16 years old, drunk out of my mind, walking down the street by myself. Like, anything could have happened to me, anything. And God is all I can think of now, like as an adult. And now that I'm on my walk with God, is God protected me. Like, anything could have happened to me from those years. One of those robberies could have gone wrong and I could have been hurt. One of my friends could have been hurt. Like, you know, anything. Like, I just, I really do. I do live with a lot of regret, and that is something I'm trying to let go of because I know that I'm not that person anymore, and I know I've changed a lot since then. Um, and I don't know the people that we did these things to, and if I did, and if I could talk to them, I would just say sorry. And it's not an excuse for what we did. It's not an excuse for what I did and the decisions that I made, but I am sorry for every person that I hurt in that part of my life. Again, hurt people, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual. Hurt people. And I'm just, again, so sorry for all the people that I hurt in that part of my life and all the decisions that I made. And, I'm just so grateful that I was pulled away from that life and I never looked back. It's not even, never been a thought in my mind to ever do that again. But I do live with that regret of ruining people's security and just their mental health. I couldn't imagine what it did to people's mental health. It ultimately, why I did stop was because someone tried to rob my little brother. And I just remember being in my room like, I can't do this anymore. Because if something would have happened to my brother, I just know I would have lost my mind. And yeah, just realizing that things could have been completely different. And I'm just so grateful that they didn't go wrong, sideways, like everything just happened for a reason. And again, I'm sorry to the people that I hurt in those years of my life. I just, yeah, it's just so crazy to say all these things out loud because it's just stuff that I've held in for so long. And I know that there's young girls who feel like the streets is the only way you could feel loved, and it's not. Some people I know that are stuck in this mindset, and in the street life like feel like they don't have people that love them. And that's how I felt. I felt like my boys loved me more than my own family. I felt like me being in the streets was the only way I could feel whole, but it wasn't. I had a mom that had a house and that made us dinner, that did things for us, and still allowed my friends to come over. Like I had things, but I just was so lost in the fact that I didn't feel loved. I I turned to the streets, and I know that there's young girls right now that feel like the street life is the only life that is for them and that they can live, and there's so much more out there for you, and there's so much more than just the streets and making quick money and just doing all these things. Like there's so much more for your life than that. And I just hope that I can reach these young girls and even adult women that are still stuck this way. I have a best friend that I grew up with my whole life. Her name's Sam, and she's so lost. And we grew up together. We've been friends since middle school, and we did a lot of stuff together. And I constantly pray for her because I know that she's just so broken and lost, and she feels like that's the only place she can be, and it's not. She has kids, she has parents that love her, she has me that loves her, and I truly, truly believe that God will place his hand on her and she will be saved. But right now she is lost, and all I can do is pray for her and hope that she realizes that there's so much more for her life than the streets. It's been a long road, and everything I put myself through, I'm just so grateful to be alive and just to be here to do this. Fast forwarding to my 20s, drinking still was an issue for me. I still drink a lot. Like I said, I've been drinking my whole life. Started drinking at 13, and just stopped drinking October of 2023, at 28 years old. So pretty much my whole life I've been drinking. I really felt like that was my escape from everything. It's the only way I could cope with things. You know, when I'm happy, want to celebrate something, have a drink. When I'm sad and I don't want to feel that sadness, have a drink. When I'm angry and I feel like it's going to calm me down, have a drink. Never was that. Sometimes, there was fun times, and I'm sure like I was the fun friend at some point. But then after a while, I just became like I said, I've walked in anger for so long. I was an angry kid to an angry teenager to an angry adult. And there was just some days when I would drink and that anger would consume me. And I just, again, put myself in so many situations. Fast forward to me being 23 years old. At that time, I was battling not only alcoholism, but I was addicted to cocaine. That's something I've never shared with my family. So yeah, from like 22 to 23, it was like a whole, I think like a year and 6 months, constant, every day, going to work off of 2 hours of sleep. I was working retail management at the time. I didn't have many responsibilities. I was living with my husband's family. And we really just didn't care about anything, just doing drugs. I battled with the cocaine addiction for a year and about 6 months. And then after my 23rd birthday, about a week after my 23rd birthday, I found out I was pregnant. And I was scared because I had been on like a week-long binge. And I was just like, what am I doing? I had no idea I was pregnant. I was scared. But I knew at that moment that I would never go back. I would never do it again. And then a few weeks after I found out I was pregnant, I miscarried with my little boy. I'm just so proud of myself, because when I used to say that, I used to break down really, really bad. But I understand now that he's in the best place he could possibly be, because at that time I was not ready to be a mother. And I know that he's with God, and he's come to visit me. And I know that he's okay. So I'm just happy that my relationship with him now is so healthy, because before it was a mess. The only time I felt like I could cope and talk to him and cry to him is when I was drunk. But after I lost him, I literally lost myself. I lost everything. I was working retail management. My boss was filled with the biggest ego I've ever seen in my life, and basically fired me because I couldn't come in after I miscarried. That was really, really hard. So let me backtrack a little bit. When we found out, it's so crazy because my mom and I were just having this conversation. I miscarried on June 30th, 2018. I remember bits and pieces. I feel like I disconnected myself from the whole situation. Basically, we went to get an ultrasound. They told me his heart rate was low. To come back next week, check it again. We went back and there was no heartbeat. It was hard. I kind of just I thought that I just laid there and didn't move. But my mom and I were just having this conversation. She told me that my husband tried to hug me and I pushed him away. My mom tried to hug me and I told her, don't touch me. I don't remember any of that. What I do remember is finally getting up off the table or the bed, whatever it is, and walking out of the door. Like, I didn't say anything to anybody. I just walked out. And I remember trying to get to the door. I felt like the hallway just got longer and longer, and it took me forever to reach the door. And I can't even think about what I was thinking at that time, because I really feel like I disconnected from everything, from everybody, from the world. I disconnected. Like, it's the only way I can describe it, because I just don't remember certain things. And I just hearing my mom even tell me stuff, I'm like, wait, when did that happen? But yeah, I feel like I just really, really disconnected from everything and everyone. And I lost it. I lost it. I just turned to drinking literally like within a week. I went straight back to drinking. They had given me the option to have the baby removed or to have him just come out naturally. I don't ever really ever remember making a decision on what I wanted to do. I just started drinking. Also, the way that I did lose him, I never really shared this with anybody. But one day, after getting belligerent, I was drunk out of my mind. I woke up the next day in a lot of pain, not knowing what was going on. I went to the bathroom and basically he came out in the toilet. And even too, like, I really, really disconnected, because this whole time in my mind, I thought, I was convinced that I was in there by myself. And I remember like always asking myself, like, why didn't you scream for help? Why didn't you yell? Why did you just stay there? Why didn't you move? Like, I didn't understand like why I didn't ask for help. And my mom came in. Well, my mom just told me that I was in the bathroom for a long time, and then she came in there and she sat on the floor with me, and I don't remember that at all. Um, Basically, I flushed the toilet, and that was that. Again, I feel like I disconnected myself from everything. Sorry. Um, Sorry. I feel like I really just disconnected myself from the whole situation. Um, I remember asking my mom to put away the ultrasounds. I didn't want to see them. They were on the fridge for a long time. I've never said out loud how he came out, so it's hard. It's hard to hear it again. But again, like I'm in such a healthy place with him and my love for him and his love for me. I know he's with me every day, and I know he's with his sister, and I know he sent her to me. I believe that with everything in my heart. Um but yeah, I disconnected, and I drank for 2 years straight after that. Literally every day I was drunk. There were periods of time where I did try to stop and I tried to be sober. Um, didn't never lasted more than a month. Um, I was just so lost. The devil knew he could control me with alcohol. I remember days waking up, not knowing what I did, but knowing I did something and being like, what did I do last night? Just that dread, you know? Didn't care. Go right back to drinking. Alcohol was my best friend. It was my therapy, my outlet, my getaway from everything, you know? Um, I really did not know how to cope with anything. And I feel like, you know, in my teen years, I kind of like did the same thing, like disconnected from all the things I seen as a kid, or, you know, like things that my dad did. I feel like I disconnected from that growing up. But then I feel like once I lost a baby, everything came flooding back. And I learned this in therapy, about PTSD and like trauma and everything. Um, just learning that those things can come back once you go through something traumatic. And I feel like I I just was flooded with all these memories, and I couldn't I couldn't forget. And again, I was just angry. I was so angry at the world. I was so angry. And just like knowing now, you know, I'm going to actually read this verse now, since it's here and we're talking about anger. It is Ephesians. Sorry. Ephesians 6, verse 12, I believe. Give me 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of the evil in the heavenly realms. Realizing that, you know, I was not only fighting myself, I was fighting the devil. Like, again, he had such a tight hold on me. You know, I walked in darkness for so many years. He knew he had me, and that if I drank alcohol, he could control everything that I did. Everything. Even to the point like I started to get physical with my husband and put my hands on him when I would drink. I put him through so much. We're we're both not perfect. We both have done things to each other. We both have hurt each other. But me just being so stuck in my pain and my anger and my sorrow, I never even stopped to think about what he was going through after we lost the baby. Sorry, excuse me. And I kind of just put it all on him. Everything that I felt, I put it on him. And I think about that all the time, and I feel so guilty for how I treated him and, the things I probably pushed him to do because I was so lost and I was so angry, and it was poor me, and it's easy for us to get into that mentality, like, poor me, like, why did I have to go through this? Why, and I remember being so angry with God, and I know the devil fed off of that so much. I remember just being like, why would you do this to me? Why would you take my son? Why? I remember always asking that. Why? Like, why me? Not even realizing his plan was written all along for me, as much as it hurt at that time. Now I know he did all of it for a reason. All of this, everything that I went through had to happen to bring me here to this place now. And I'm just so grateful that I understand this now. And, again, October 2023, I finally decided to let him in and give my life to him, Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Back to when I lost the baby. Again, like I said, I was drunk all the time, and I'm going to say August of 2020, maybe like the end of August. I got really, really drunk. My husband and I were not together at the time. We had ended things. He was gone on like a music trip in LA. I was just lost. I was lost. I was drinking, calling him, texting him, cussing him out, a whole bunch of stuff. And I went to a party with some friends, and my little brother was there. I blacked out. I was drunk. Acted stupid. Ended up putting my hands on my brother, which is something that, like I said, me and my brother seen a lot of things growing up, and one of the things we always said, is we would never put our hands on each other. And not only did I punch him in the face, I punched him while he was driving. Like, literally driving a car that I was in with him. Like, anything could have happened. I could have ended both of our lives that day, and I lived with that regret for so long. And every time I looked at him, I was just reminded, and I wanted to cry. And when that happened, because in the middle of me losing my son, I did try to end my life again, 3 times. My husband is the one who saved me every single time. And without him, honestly, I would not be here. And that's why I am so dedicated to him and our relationship, because he literally saved my life 3 times. Fast forward to when I punched my brother. I was living with my mom at the time because, like I said, my husband and I weren't together, and my brother was also living with my mom as well. It's like I was drunk out of my mind, but I knew what I did. Consciously, I'm assuming. I knew that I had messed up. I knew there was no going back. I knew my family was done with me. I knew that they were never going to talk to me again after that. And I had made the decision that I was going to end my life. Like, I had everything planned out. and I was ready. Um, and again, the enemy in my head, just do it. Nobody loves you. Nobody cares about you. Nobody's going to care. You already ruined your life. Do it. Do it. And again, I was ready. But I always remembered being that 14-year-old little girl and trying then and it not working. And so I had that fear in me. Like, I was scared. I was so scared because I knew I was going to do it. And it scared me that I was sure, I was 100% sure, like I was going to end my life. And I just remember I had ended up going back to my husband's dad's house. And I just remember being in the room by myself, and I was just like, God, I can't do this anymore. I don't know how my life is supposed to go on after this. I literally knew I was not going to have my family. I wasn't going to have anything, you know? And I was ready. I just remember telling God, like, I don't see any other way out, and I don't know what to do. This was the end of August 2020. And literally 3 days later, I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. And that is ultimately what saved my life. And that's why I always say she saved my life, because I was going to end my life. And just to think, you know, like if I went through with it, I would have been pregnant and I wouldn't have even known. And I remember finding out I was pregnant with her. I went to the Dollar Tree. I got a pregnancy test. I got a pregnancy test. And I remember thinking, like, you're not going to be pregnant. Like, why are you even checking? You're wasting your time. But something kept telling me to check. Not even realizing it's God. Like, God was already speaking to me then, and I didn't even realize it. But yeah, 3 days later, I found out I was pregnant with her. I called her dad. He was at work, and it was just like, I'm pregnant. And I still, you know, I struggled really, really bad with my depression, because 2 years I drank and I was depressed. I had crippling anxiety. I never wanted to leave the house. I could not leave the house and be around people unless I was drunk. And I still struggled with that when I was pregnant. It was hard for me to rub my stomach. It was hard for me to talk to my stomach. It was hard for me to do ultrasounds. I was always expecting the worst. You know, that PTSD followed me into this gift from God. Like, that pregnancy, it followed me. All of that fear, it followed me. And I feel like I didn't really like start to feel connected to my daughter until I was about 6 months, 7 months. And I ended up having her April 17th, 2021. She's a blessing. And again, she saved my life. And without her, I know I would not be here. I did really, really good. Obviously, the whole 9 months I was pregnant, drinking alcohol was not even a thought in my mind. And I did good her first year, but there was just so much I was still hanging on to. I went back, and the first 2 years, you know, she's seen me drinking. She's seen my anger towards her dad, not her. And just, she's seen me be physical with her dad. She's seen me and her dad scream at each other. And, you know, I'm trying to make it right now. You know, she's only 3 years old, but I feel like it did affect her, you know? And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making it up to her whether she remembers it or not, but that addiction in general, like, no, unless you have been there or you're going through it, you will not understand how hard it is to break free from an addiction. Like, it is so hard, like, especially when you have these thoughts, these voices in your head telling you you need it, like, you can't do this without it, and that's how I felt. I couldn't do anything without drinking, like, and realizing now, like, I didn't need it. I needed God. I needed to give my life to him to be able to break free from that. I tried therapy, I tried AA, I tried so many things, but nothing broke my addiction except for God. And that was October 2023. I got drunk, I came home, I started arguing with my husband. We got in a big fight. I was hitting him. I did something really stupid. And I just remember, like, the week after that, I was just like, I just started praying and I just started talking to God, and me not even realizing then, like, it was him speaking to me, and he told me, this is not going to be your life anymore. You're not going to want this for your life. And I just feel like since then, everything is changing. Like, everything. Even like now, like my brother, my brother Devin, I'll say certain things. He's like, who are you? Like, I feel like everything has changed about me. The way that I think, the way that I dress, the way that I talk, everything. Like, and like the only way that I can describe what I feel is I literally feel like a little kid again. Like, just full of joy and no cares in the world, like a kid at the ages of like 2 to 4, 2 to 5, like just happy all the time. Like, and that's how I feel, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have my moments. I'm not perfect. I get irritated still, change does not happen overnight. And that's one thing that I'm learning also, especially with going to church, having pastors that are transparent and that are open and just, will help you to understand certain things. And I felt like, okay, I'm giving my life to God. I have to be this way. I have to do this. I have to do this. But I'm constantly reminded that change does not happen overnight. It's a process. And God is, as long as you are giving your life to God, God is going to be there for you no matter what. And I had to learn that, like, he's here no matter what I'm going through. Sorry, there was another verse I wanted to read. Well, it's from Psalms, so it's kind of a song, but I just remember reading this. One day I was having a moment. The devil was working, and he's like, no one's gonna, this is the devil's favorite thing to tell me constantly. No one's gonna forget what you did. No one is gonna forgive you. Everyone's always gonna remember you in that way, which may be true for some people. Some people really might only remember me as drunk Ariana, hurricane Ariana, tornado Ariana. Like, some people will only remember me in that way, but God doesn't. God sees me as a new person, a new creation. I was just baptized on May 19th. And I'm born again. I'm made new. I'm not the same person that I was. But let me go back to what I was saying. I remember I was doing Bible study. I was having a moment, and I was starting to believe those thoughts and that no one was gonna ever forget. And God brought me to Psalms. It is Psalms 18 verses 3 to 6, and then Psalms 18 verses 6 to 19. So it says, I called to the Lord who is worthy of praise, and I have been saved from my enemies. The cords of death entangled me, the torrents of destruction overwhelmed me, the cords of the grave coiled around me, the snares of death confronted me. In my distress I called to the Lord. I cried to my God for help. From his temple he heard my voice. My cry came before him into his ears. And then Psalms 18, verses 16 to 19. He reached down from on high and took hold of me. He drew me out of deep waters. He rescued me from my powerful enemy, from my foes who were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my disaster, but the Lord is my support. He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. And I just remember being back there and I'm just sobbing. I'm crying so hard. Like, he saved me. Like, it's the only way I can describe it. He saved me. He delivered me from the person that I was, and he changed my life for the better. You know, he changed everything about me. Again, like I said, like the way I dress, the way I talk, the way my mindset, like everything is just new. Everything is different. And I can't, it's like I'm obsessed with God. I'm obsessed with Jesus. I'm just so happy at my new life, and not only what I have now, but for what he has planned for me in my future. You know, one of my pastors, Pastor Lisa, I say she's my spiritual mom. She tells me all the time, your past can't even keep up with your future. And I feel like that's true for so many people, you know, like you're not your past. Your past is forgiven. Your sins are forgiven. Jesus literally died on the cross for your sins. And you don't have to live in sin. You can give your life to God. You can be made new. And even if people remember the old you and try to bring it up, just like I have a part of my testimony on my Instagram from when I got baptized. And just, I feel like before, like the old Ariana definitely would feed into what the devil is telling me. Like, no one's going to forget. Like, when poor me, like I'm always going to be known as this person, you know. But I feel like my mindset has changed so much that every time the devil tries to make me believe his lies, he's igniting my fire for God even more. And I just fall more in love with Jesus and with God. And just, I know that God literally pulled me out of the pits of hell. I was in there for majority of my life, and he saved me. He delivered me. He freed me. My chains are broken. The bondage that I had is broken, and I could not have done it without God. If I never surrendered my life to God, I literally had two options for my life. I was either going to be in jail or I was going to be dead. And I've accepted that wholeheartedly, that was going to be my life if I didn't change. If I did not surrender my life to God, those were my only options. And I just want anyone that's listening and feels like this applies to them, and if they feel like they cannot become closer to God or be loved by God because they've done certain things, or they've walked in darkness, or they walked with the enemy, God will accept you, and he will love you, and he will show you the good that he has for your life. Don't get me wrong. You are going to face things. I still face things till this day, but now that I've given my life to God, my mindset is different on these trials that I go through, because I know that he's going to bless me. I know that he is going to be there for me no matter what. And I know the things that I go through that are hard, he's there no matter what. And I just hope that whoever hears this and feels this way and feels like they are too broken, you're not. God loves you. Jesus walks beside you. They are with you, and you can be saved. You can be healed. You just have to surrender your life. Give it all to God. And honestly, me doing that was the best decision I've ever made in my life. And I know I will never go back to my old life. And You know, he gave me a new life. He gave me new everything. Like I'm made new. Everything about me is new. And we're gonna read one more verse. It is Ephesians chapter 4, verses 22 to 24. It says, "You were taught with regard to your former way of life, to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds, and to put on the new self, created to be like God in true righteousness and holiness." You're giving up your old self. You're giving up your old ways, and you're made new once you give your life to God. And again, the devil lies. The devil loves to put things in your head and loves to try to make you believe his lies, but God can save you, and God will save you. And you're not too lost. You're not too broken to be found. You can be made new, and you can be a new creation, a new person, you know, and I'm proof of that. I am proof of God's love. I am proof that no matter what you've done in your life, God will accept you. And there's so many other people, you know, that have testimonies and have stories of how God saved them. You know, I'm not the only one. And I just hope that the people that have been saved by God can be a motivation for you and a hope that everything's going to be okay. You're never too broken for God to love you. And I mean that. So again, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, for listening, for watching. I did good. I didn't cry as much as I thought I was gonna, but yeah. I pray that you are filled with God's presence and understanding, and just know that Jesus loves you and you're never too broken. Again, thank you guys, and I'm looking forward to future episodes. If there are topics you want me to cover, I would love to hear them. Any questions you have about my testimony, if you want more descriptions about what I've been through. Again, this is my first episode, so I don't know if I did it right, but I just know that I'm doing what God wants me to do. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again, guys. Have a blessed day.